Wow, okay, I've got a lot I can't tell. So, I can't tell that one either. I mean, I'm like actually cycling through.
Ashton Kutcher and him they were real tight. One time, me, him, Ashton Kutcher went to a Nets game, and we met Jay-Z there. You know what I'm saying? So they were close, they was cool.
The feds are making big moves again. And this time, the buzz is all about Ashton Kutcher. Word is starting to leak online that he's just been snatched up as part of the explosive Diddy investigation, and the rumors are spreading fast. Ashton may have just been arrested as a co-conspirator in Diddy's ongoing mess, and honestly, it kinda explains a lot. Ever since the Diddy case blew up, Ashton's gone completely off the radar. No interviews, no red carpets, not even a single paparazzi shot. Nothing. People are starting to believe he's already in custody, and it doesn't stop there, because now his skeletons are tumbling straight out of the closet. Folks are dragging up Ashton's past, and it's way nastier than most people remember. Back in high school, he didn't just get into a little trouble. He broke into his school to steal money and cheat on a test. He got caught and ended up convicted of third-degree burglary, a real, full-blown felony. And then years later, when the fame hit, Ashton was right there co-hosting Diddy's infamous white parties, the same wild events now being linked to some seriously disturbing accusations. And get this, those old rumors are popping up again. The ones that say Ashton was allegedly dating Lindsay Lohan when she was just 16. Yeah, people are bringing that back up too. And when folks say Ashton might be just as shady as Diddy, suddenly the timeline starts looking real suspicious. Let's not forget his connection to the tragic and mysterious passing of Ashley Ellerin, his former girlfriend. Ashton's story from that night always raised a lot of questions. He claimed he showed up at her house, knocked, peeked in, and left after thinking what he saw was wine spilled on the floor. Turns out, it wasn't wine. It was blood. Investigators confirmed that later. Ashton was never charged, but to this day, that story still makes people side-eye him hard.
This morning, the loss of Brittany Murphy this morning. The 32-year-old actress died on Sunday from what officials say appear to be natural causes. An autopsy is planned, reportedly against the wishes of her husband. CBS News correspondent John Blackstone has this report.
And if all that wasn't messy enough, boom. Word on the street is Mila Kunis has officially filed for divorce. Sources are saying she's done protecting Ashton, and this latest scandal might have been the final straw. So now everybody's asking, did the feds really arrest Ashton Kutcher? Is he Diddy's silent partner in all this chaos? And what did Mila find out that made her run for the hills? What most folks don't realize is that Ashton was never the squeaky-clean heartthrob Hollywood tried to package and sell to us. Long before he ever got famous, before That 70s Show, before the tech startup scene and the charming talk show appearances, Ashton was already deep in trouble. Back in his senior year of high school, he broke into his own school, not to pull a prank or cause a little mischief, but to steal money and cheat on an exam. And he didn't get away with it. He got caught and slapped with a felony. And now, that shady past might finally be catching up to him. Ashton Kutcher got hit with a serious charge. Third-degree burglary, a straight-up felony. That wild high school stunt didn't just get him in trouble. It wrecked everything. His college scholarships? Gone. His clean record? Toast. He even lost his right to vote. But here's where people really start getting heated. Once Ashton got famous and stacked his money, he just paid to wipe it all clean.
I think what makes it work is, I know...
Is it you're so freaking hot?
No, is being able to do scenes with him and being in it with him.
Clean. That felony? Expunged. His voting rights? Magically restored. Just like that. When you've got cash, the justice system suddenly gets real forgiving. After that mess, Ashton tried to go the college route at the University of Iowa, but that didn't last long. Even he admitted he was acting wild, partying nonstop, acting reckless, and eventually got kicked out of his apartment for being too loud. He couldn't keep it together, so he bounced, dropped out, and made a move to New York to start modeling. He was posing alongside rising stars like Tom Welling from Smallville, trying to make a name for himself. But that was just the start, because things get way darker from there. Let's talk about Ashley Ellerin. She was 22, a fashion student, and Ashton's girlfriend at the time. One night, Ashley was brutally found dead in her home. And Ashton? He showed up to her place late that same night. He told the cops he looked through the window, saw what he thought were red wine stains on the carpet, and just left. He left. The next morning, Ashley was discovered murdered inside that house. People have never bought that story. Like, who sees red stains on a carpet and doesn't even bother to check if the person they came to visit is okay? That's not just strange, it's cold. And fans have been side-eyeing that entire situation ever since. Something about it has never sat right. But it doesn't stop there. Ashton was also super close to Brittany Murphy, another tragic Hollywood case. Brittany died suddenly at just 32. The official cause? Pneumonia and anemia. Weird, but then it got weirder. Her husband, Simon Monjack, died just months later, from the exact same thing, like, exact same cause. It was so bizarre that people still don't fully believe what went down. The deeper you dig into Ashton's past, the more questions start stacking up, and a lot of people are finally starting to ask them out loud. It didn't take long before fans started connecting the dots, and what they're seeing looks way too suspicious to just brush off. 2 sudden deaths. Same strange causes. And now a third? It's getting harder to believe it's all just coincidence. Now people are asking the real questions. Was Ashton involved in something way deeper? Could he have been just as shady as Diddy this entire time? Because let's be real, Brittany Murphy's case? It's giving major cover-up energy. And now that we know Ashton and Diddy co-hosted those infamous white parties, things are looking even sketchier. Those weren't just some Hollywood get-togethers. These were ultra-exclusive, all-night blowouts packed with celebs, models, power players, and a whole lot of mystery. But wait, it gets even darker. Brittany isn't the only woman tied to these two who died under strange circumstances. Fans are now pointing at Kim Porter, Diddy's ex, and the mother of 3 of his children.
I'm the kind of person that actually learns more from their mistakes than from their successes. So all the great things we did in the past, we're gonna.
She passed away in 2018, and the cause? Pneumonia. Sound familiar? Just like Brittany. Just like Simon. All 3 connected to Diddy. All 3 died young. And all 3 were given the same vague cause of death. People aren't buying that anymore. It's too neat, too convenient. Now let's zoom out, because there's a pattern forming here, and Ashton's name keeps popping up right in the middle. While he's playing the polished, charming good guy in the spotlight, it seems like he might have been holding hands with Diddy in the shadows all along. According to insiders, Diddy trusted Ashton, not just with business moves, but with secrets. And the reason? Simple. Ashton was tight with Danny Masterson. Yes, that Danny. The one who just got handed serious prison time for unthinkable crimes. And here's where it gets wild. Once that link was made, Diddy started surrounding himself with Ashton, Danny Masterson, and Wilmer Valderrama. He brought them into his private circle, his hand-picked group, and gave them a name. The New Hollywood Rat Pack. But baby, this wasn't about cigars and business deals. These dudes were flying private, hitting exotic parties, calling the shots behind closed doors, and, allegedly, doing things the public was never supposed to find out about. Behind the smiles and the suits, there was a whole other lifestyle happening. And guess what? Ashton was right there, even introducing Diddy to WeWork's infamous ex-CEO Adam Neumann. You know, the guy who scammed billions from investors and ran a startup like it was some cult? Ashton was moving in rooms full of chaos, and now people are finally paying attention.
Kutcher looked in the window and saw what he thought was spilled wine on the floor. We believe now the evidence will show that was actually.
Guess who quietly got a slice of that shady pie? Diddy. Yeah, he was cashing in behind the scenes. No cameras, no headlines, just low-key moves with high-powered friends. But here's where it starts getting real twisted. Once you mix money, power, and tight-lipped silence, you're not just building friendships, you're creating fortresses. Walls so high and sealed so tight, nobody dares speak up. And once you're inside, everything shady stays hidden, buried deep. Want proof? Go ahead. Try searching for the new Hollywood Rat Pack with Ashton, Danny, Wilmer, or Diddy. There's almost nothing. It's like the internet got wiped squeaky clean, top to bottom, scrubbed, erased. And that's not by accident. These folks got the kind of connections that make stories vanish. Why is that important? Because ever since Diddy's arrest blew up, Ashton and Mila have been moving like ghosts. Suddenly, they're acting like they barely even knew the guy. Like Diddy was just some dude they bumped into once at a red carpet event. Please. That's cap. Total cap. They pulled the exact same move when Danny Masterson got convicted. Years of photos, birthday shout-outs, cozy family trips, deleted, wiped off socials like none of it ever happened. They're trying to erase the past and act brand new. It's giving rebrand. It's giving full-blown damage control. But this isn't just about distancing from a few scandals, it's part of a bigger pattern. Because Ashton and Mila, they've always had deep, under-the-radar ties to Scientology. Yup, their closest friends? Scientologists. Some of their staff? Rumored to be in that same tight-knit circle. Their inner circle has always been dipped in that world. And you know what that means. Media manipulation on a whole other level. Scientology has a long, dark history of shutting down stories, threatening reporters, and making sure anything messy disappears without a trace. So if you've ever wondered why certain stories vanish so fast, now you've got a clue. And just to stir the pot even more, when Ashton was once asked about Diddy's notorious white parties, he said something that stopped everyone in their tracks. He said, "There's a lot I can't tell." Boom! That one line flipped the internet upside down. People started speculating immediately. Allegedly, what Ashton can't talk about includes everything from wild freak-offs to darker stuff no one wants to say out loud. And if that doesn't make you raise an eyebrow, what will? The same off-the-rails behavior Diddy's now being dragged into court for? Ashton might be closer to it than anyone thought.
We're shocked to find out that Ashton and Mila, who kind of have branded themselves as activists for victims, would write letters on behalf of a person who had been convicted already.
And if that's not wild enough, let's talk about Thorn, Ashton's supposedly heroic nonprofit that claimed to fight child exploitation online. On paper, it sounded like something out of a superhero script. But behind the scenes, that story is starting to crack wide open. Some of the organization's files? Redacted. Certain ties and partnerships? Way too convenient. And get this. People have even filed Freedom of Information Act requests trying to uncover what's being kept hidden. That's how deep it's gone. And just when things started heating up, Ashton made a slick exit. He resigned from Thorn's board out of nowhere. Sources are whispering that he didn't just step down randomly. Word is, investigators were about to turn the spotlight on him, and he knew the heat was coming. That exit? It wasn't graceful. It looked like a strategic escape before the real questions started rolling in. And speaking of dark spirals, let's talk about Dave Chase. You probably remember her as the terrifying little girl from The Ring. But what most people don't realize is she didn't just fade from the spotlight. She spiraled hard, and according to whispers in the shadows, it all started after one particular night. A night she got invited to party with none other than Diddy and Ashton Kutcher. Back then, she was young, like way too young. And ever since that night, her life's been a full-blown disaster. Arrests, drug charges, jail time. In 2019, she was booked for a misdemeanor. Just 5 months before that, busted for substance possession. Then by early 2024, she was back in jail again after yet another arrest in Hollywood. This girl went from movie premieres to mugshots in under a decade. And people aren't calling that bad luck anymore. No way. They're starting to look at who was around her and what kind of circles she got pulled into. Diddy, Ashton, those parties. Those so-called exclusive nights where everything was off limits, cameras were banned, and the truth never made it out. People are asking the real questions now. What really happened to Dave that night? And how deep were Ashton and Diddy tied into all of it?
Wilmer, he was 29. I met him on January 11th of 2010. And it was at a PSA shoot at his house for the 2010 census forms. And I have to have him. But I was only 17. And so he was like, get away from me. After I had turned 18, we began dating. I think it was love at first sight.
People are saying something dark went down at that party, something that changed Davy Chase forever. We're talking about the kind of trauma that doesn't just fade with time, the type that leaves a person shattered, stuck, and spiraling. What really happened that night? Nobody's saying it out loud, but whispers are getting louder, and they're haunting. But here's the real kicker. Davy wasn't the only one. Allegedly, Ashton Kutcher had a thing for younger girls, and that's where it all starts to look even worse. The word on the street? Ashton and Lindsay Lohan had a thing going when she was just 16. And when that situation supposedly ended, she didn't step away from the scene. She jumped straight into Wilmer Valderrama's arms. See the pattern? It's like this whole inner circle had one disturbing preference, and Ashton wasn't just tagging along, he was right in the middle of it all. And we already know Diddy's facing lawsuits stacked like a game of Jenga. But when you start lining everything up, Ashton, Wilmer, Danny Masterson, it's not just giving bad influence, it's giving co-conspirators. Let's talk about Wilmer for a second, because his history? It's flat out wild. Starting with Mandy Moore. She met Wilmer when she was just 15, and he was 20. Both of them stayed quiet at the time, saying nothing inappropriate happened. But fast forward a few years, and Mandy confirmed the truth. They were together while she was underage. And it doesn't stop there. In a seriously uncomfortable interview with Howard Stern, Wilmer didn't just mention Mandy. He bragged about being the first guy to sleep with her. He laughed. He joked. He made it sound like a flex. But there was nothing funny about it. Mandy later spoke out and said the whole thing wasn't even true, but the damage had already been done. She said it hurt her deeply, and fans were disgusted that he ever said it in the first place. Now, when you step back and look at the full picture, Ashton, Wilmer, Danny, Diddy, people aren't seeing random scandals. They're seeing a pattern of behavior that's finally being dragged into the light. Then came Lindsay Lohan. Back in the early 2000s, Lindsay was everywhere. Hollywood's golden girl, paparazzi flashing from every angle. And guess who slid into the picture? Wilmer Valderrama. He was 24. Lindsay? Just 17. Of course, they claimed it was innocent. "We're just friends," they said over and over. But then, boom! On Lindsay's 18th birthday, they suddenly became a couple. Like magic. That midnight birthday flip again? People weren't buying it then, and they definitely aren't now. Fast forward to 2010, and Wilmer's back at it, this time hanging around a young Demi Lovato, and again, the same exact script. He's like a brother, they said, just friends. But sure enough, when Demi turned 18, surprise, they went public as a couple. At that point, Wilmer was 29. That's over a decade older than her. And just like Lindsay, Demi later admitted that the relationship started before she was legal. This wasn't just some one-off coincidence. It was a blueprint, a pattern. First Mandy Moore, then Lindsay, then Demi. The timeline is always messy, and that "we're just friends" line is the same every single time. And right on cue, the birthday switch-up. But Demi didn't stay quiet forever. In 2022, she finally let it all out the best way she knew how, through music. She dropped a song called 29, and when I say those lyrics cut deep, I mean cut deep. She didn't have to say Wilmer's name. Everybody knew exactly who she meant. The song laid it all bare. In interviews, Demi confirmed it without hesitation. "I feel like the song says it all." And honestly, it did. No cryptic messages, no guessing games, just raw truth about what really went down behind the scenes. And it hit hard. And honestly, it really does say it all. But the internet, it never forgets. It always leaves trails, little digital breadcrumbs that start making sense when you look back. And while digging through old forums and comment threads, one post lit up like a red flag on fire. Check this out. Someone claiming to be a former employee dropped a bombshell about Wilmer Valderrama. They said he was part owner of a bar they worked at and called him absolute garbage human being. The wildest part? Underage girls were constantly showing up, and the staff was explicitly told never to ID anyone at his tables. Read that again. Never allowed to ID at Wilmer's tables. That means it wasn't just some oversight. That means the management was in on it. The whole vibe was set up to protect predators. This wasn't just some, "oops, we didn't know her age" Hollywood excuse. This was organized, intentional, and allowed to thrive. And get this, Megan Good was allegedly an investor in that same bar. Yeah, the same Megan who's now all about faith, healing, and public redemption. According to that employee, she wasn't just involved. She was called horrendous, which means either she turned a blind eye, or even worse, she might have benefited from the whole setup. Either way, it's not looking good. Now here's where things really click. Wilmer owned the spot. Ashton Kutcher, that's his ride or die, his wingman, his business partner since that 70s show days. So, let's be real. Do you really believe Ashton didn't know what was going on? Be serious. Rumors say that bar allegedly turned into one of their hunting grounds, a place where lines were blurred, rules didn't apply, and young girls were getting pulled into situations they never should have been near. And let's not forget, Ashton is the same guy who founded a tech company built to protect kids from exploitation. That's the public image. That's the soundbite. But behind the curtain, allegedly, he was rolling with a crew of men who lived off manipulating age gaps and preying on the vulnerable. So, while Ashton was out here preaching about saving lives and protecting the youth, he was possibly shoulder to shoulder with people building entire environments that did the exact opposite. The double life? It's getting real hard to ignore. So when you really zoom out and look at this whole so-called new Hollywood rat pack, the one Diddy proudly named, it's crystal clear this wasn't just some fun little party crew. Nah, this was a tight circle, full of power, secrets, and shady moves. And Ashton Kutcher was sitting right at the center of it all. And if the streets are telling it straight, then Mila Kunis might be completely done with Ashton. Allegedly, she's reached her breaking point. Word floating around is she finally pulled the plug and filed for divorce. And honestly, it makes sense. Everything changed the moment Ashton's name started circling around that Diddy mess. So if that rumor's real, Ashton's out here trying to rebrand himself, solo style. No Mila, no perfect marriage image, just him, his shady Hollywood squad, and a long list of questions that he still hasn't answered. But now it's your turn, because I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Mila really filed the papers? Do you think Ashton knew exactly what was going on with the bar, the parties, the underage whispers? And let's be real, do you think he's actually under investigation? Or is he just hiding behind that good old Hollywood PR machine like they always do? Sound off in the comments below. Drop your thoughts, your theories, even your receipts. Let's get into it, because the story behind the scenes is always crazier than what they show on camera. And while you're here, don't play with it. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you don't miss out on what's really going down in Hollywood. You know, we keep it all the way real over here. See you on the next one.